Hello everyone, welcome to our Sizzling Summer Series. This is number 2 in our series. I'm Karen from Sew and Save, and we're here at the Ponderosa today making this beautiful Celebrate runner. So project 2, we have 5 projects. Next month we're going to be doing the little watermelon placemats, really super cute. If you would like to sew this with us and you didn't get a kit, we have navy blue kits left, but we're out of the red. So we had red and blue kits, but just navy blues left. Let's talk a little bit about this project before we start cutting and getting into it, because this month you have options. I know, options. So I have a blue border on this project, and the outside of my borders are red. So because it's blue, I have more red stripes in this project. So I have blue here and then 3 stripes of red. If you're making the red project with the red border, you may want to consider doing your red border and then blue on the outsides and then just 2 strips of red. But we're going to talk about that in a minute because you have options. I also had someone in class this week, and Marley's here to say hello. She had the blue border and then she made all of her stripes blue. So you have that option as well. So you have lots and lots of options, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more as we go along. But the first thing I want to do is show you how to cut your border. The border, whether you're doing the red or the blue, is cut exactly the same. You're going to cut it out of this border print. And then don't throw out this inside part, because you're going to use the inside section of either your red or your blue to help make some of your stripes in your project. So this whole thing from here to here is strip pieced and then cut. So we're going to talk about that again in a minute. But the first thing we're going to do is cut our border stripe. So let's do that. Here is your beautiful border piece. So we're going to cut and trim along this edge to cut our border. So first we're going to cut our strip off. We're going to end up needing 17.5 by 8.5 inch strip. So I'm going to take my beautiful Big Easy ruler. Yay, love the Big Easy ruler. I'm lining up the 1/2 inch mark of my ruler right along that kind of scalloped edge of my border print. And then I'm just going to cut that off. And I am doing this open. I'm doing each piece separately because I'm kind of fussy cutting these. And you want them to be just perfect and beautiful. So you've got plenty of fabric here to work with. And I'm trimming that down and coming along and trimming off that last little section. Let's smooth that out. And then I'm going to do exactly the same thing on the other side. I'm going to get my ruler nice and straight here first. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to finish trimming this off. So I would flip this over then and do exactly the same on the other side. Now I'm going to cut this down to be 17.5 inches long. There's really not a 17.5 inch long ruler. So I have this, you know what this is? This is the brand new ruler from Creative Grid. This is the Big Easy Junior. Your Big Easy is 24 by 12 and 24.5 by 12.5. Big Easy Junior is 18.5 by 12.5. And I put the purple grippy on this as well. Actually, this ruler is light enough that you could pick it up and move it around without it. But I kind of like the gripper on this one too. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to kind of fussy cut my border as well. And I kind of want my flowers centered. I don't want to like cut here and then kind of cut off half of a flower. I kind of fussy cut it so that I got all the flowers in. And this is again 18.5, and you're only going to need 17.5. So I line up my edge up here, and I kind of have my ruler at the point edge of each of these 2 flowers. So now I have all of these flowers nicely centered. And when I do the other one, I'm going to line it up exactly at those 2 flower points as well, so that my flowers mirror one another on either end. And I haven't cut a flower in half, so it's going to look beautiful. And of course, again, this is going to be a half an inch or an inch too big. And that's okay, because I'm just going to grab a ruler. Now, if this is 18.5 and I need 17.5. So I'm just going to line up the half-inch portion of my little ruler here and trim off a half an inch from each side. I'm not going to trim off an inch from each side, because then I'm cutting into this flower and you're not going to be even. So take a half an inch off of each side. I don't have a 17.5-inch ruler. I'm not sure there is one. There may be, but if I had one, I would have used that. And we're going to trim this off as well. Now I've got my border cut. I'm then going to take and I'm going to cut this down to 8.5. So I will just use my ruler, line my cut edge, which is right here, up on the 8.5, and trim this off. So now I have, oops, I went crooked, didn't I? Whoa, there we go. So now I have 8.5 by 17.5. I'm going to repeat with the other part of the border and then save this to make my center of my my table topper. So cut those, and let's talk about cutting your strip pieces to make your project. So you have your border pieces cut. So whether you have a red border piece or a blue border piece, we cut them the same. They're 8.5 by 17.5. And now we're ready to figure out our strip piecing for the rest of the table runner. If I kind of follow the directions that are in the pattern, and I used the red, and then I lined everything up the way they do, I would end up with this red on the borders here and here. And to me, that's like a little bit too much red. But if you like it that way, do it that way. It's your project. You can do it any way you want. And in a second, I'm going to tell you how to make all that happen. But if you like more red, then you're going to end up with more red stripes. But for mine, I'm going to switch it up so that I'm going to have blue here, here, and here, and red here and here. And I'll show you how to make that work. Okay? Are you with me? Alrighty. So you have to think now, how do you want your stripes to be? You could have all red stripes in here. You could have all blue stripes in here. You could have it look exactly this way, or you could put blue, 3 blue stripes and 2 red stripes. So I'm going to tell you how to do it both ways. So here we go. You're going to create a strip set. And in your strip set, you're going to have, and let me put this back up here one more time. In your strip set, you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 strips. All right, let me tell you how those strips are going to go. So you're going to start out with a narrow 1.5-inch strip. All the rest will be 2.5. Then once we have all our strips sewn together, we're going to subcut those into 4.5-inch strips. That's going to create this strip set. That's going to create your strip set right there. I'm getting everything out of the way, okay? You're going to cut 7 of these. When you lay them out to sew them together, you're going to flip them. That's how this is going to work. So you're going to flip them so that on one side you have the 2.5-inch. You're going to flip your strip set so the 1.5 ends up over there. And then repeat, and you're going to go back and forth. And I'll show you a little bit more. Once we cut them, I'll show you how to do that. Pretty simple, right? If you, yeah, I know. And that's what makes this kind of jagged, juxtaposed edge. And Marley's coming in to check it and see if she likes it. So let me show you how to lay out your strip sets. So if you want blue on the outside, then you're going to start with a blue 1.5-inch strip. If you want a red going along your outside, you're going to start out with a red 1.5-inch strip and end with a red 2.5. If you want blue on the outside, you're going to start with a blue 1.5-inch strip and end with a blue 2.5 inch strip. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to switch this, okay? So I'm starting out, when I sew my strip sets, I'm going to start out with a 1/2 inch blue. So here's one. Then I'm going to do a tan 2.5 inch. Then I'll do a red, and this was cut out of my center. So this one's a little bit shorter. So you're going to have to kind of actually end up making 2 strip sets of these, because these are short, and if these weren't 25 and you were just using the full width of fabric, you'd get them all out. You're going to need 7 4.5 inch cuts out of these when you're all done. So I've got a narrow blue, 2.5 inch white, 2.5 inch red. Then I'm going to go to a tan 2.5 inch. Then I'll do a blue 2.5 inch. Oops. Then a tan. I hope I have enough space on here. Then a tan. I might smudge this over a little bit so you have a little bit, but I think you're getting the idea. Here we go. There we go. I'm going to overlap them just a smudge so we get them all on there. So, all righty. There we go. Plenty of space now. Get them on there. All right. Now I'm going to go red 2.5 inch, a tan 2.5 inch, and I'm going to end my strip set with another blue 2.5 inch. Alrighty. So once I've sewn all these together, you can see how I have the narrow one here, starting here with the blue 2.5 inch. I go every other one, ending up with another blue on this end. If you wanted red, like this. Again, if you wanted red on your 2 borders and in the center, start with a red 2.5 inch and repeat until you have a red 2.5, or did I say 2.5 inch? A red 1.5 inch. Repeat with your 2.5 inchers and have a 2.5 inch red on the end. You need 9 strips. All right, sew these together and then I'll talk to you about cutting them. I have my strip sets all sewn together. On the back, you can see I pressed my seams open. Later on, when I quilt this, I'm going to stitch in the ditch, and I think pressing your seams open makes it a little bit easier to stitch in the ditch, and we'll talk about that at the end. But let's talk about our strip set for right now. You can see, I'm going to put this up here. You can see because when I cut my red from my border stripe, or if you have the blue border stripe, your blue stripes will be shorter. So they're only going to be about 25 inches long. So I trimmed my strip set down to match the 25-inch shorter strip. The girls did that, and then what you're going to have to do is take one more 25-inch strip of your short one and make another strip set. You'll have all of these pieces left over because you'll have these long pieces left from your full width of fabric, and then take one more red strip, cut it in half, and make another strip set, because you're not going to get all of your subcuts out of this one piece. You're going to get about 5. And it depends on how you cut and how you sew, but we're going to subcut this into 4.5-inch strips, and this is only 25 inches long, and you're going to need 7 of these. Actually, in the end, you'll be able to get more. So if you wanted your table runner to be a little bit longer, you could add more. So, so you can either, at this point in time, start cutting and sewing some together, or re-sew your leftover pieces. So here's a leftover piece. When I started sewing, I grabbed 2, I went 2 by 2 by 2, and sewed my little pieces together. So now I'm going to have to add a red, and then I'll have a cream and blue, and then I'll have another piece of red, and then, oops, oh, I need another cream one in there. Oops, where'd it go? Here he is. Need to get a cream one in there. That's what I did when I was sewing them together. I ended up sewing a red and a blue together. I had to rip it out and get a cream one in between. So here we go. We're going to come over this way, and you'll have to finish up sewing that strip set. Now some girls took and sewed a red strip, 2 red strips together so they could go all the way down and along. And then when they got to when they were subcutting and they got to their little seam, they just skipped the seam so that they wouldn't end up getting a red or a blue seam in one of their little stripes, because you don't want that. But so you could do it that way too. Both ways work. And we're going to end up with a blue here somewhere. Here's a blue. And so you'd end up making another short strip set where you're going to cut the final 4.5-inch cuts out of there. So let's cut those, and then I'll show you how to put it all together. You have all of your strip sets sewed together. Let's just review these. If you want the beginning and the end of your strip set to be blue, so you're going to start out with a 1.5-inch blue, 2.5-inch tan, 2.5-inch red, 2.5-inch tan, 2.5-inch blue, so on and so forth, and end with a blue. If you want your borders to be red, then you would start out with a red 1.5, go every other one, and end with a red 2.5. Now I have my strip sets all sewn together. I have them pressed open and nice and flat. Now I'm ready to subcut my strip sets and start sewing the center of my project together. And this, our new Big Easy Junior, is the perfect ruler. It's just exactly the right size to go across our strip sets. The girls were so happy in class to be using this because it was just perfect. So I want to cut off and get a nice straight edge on this. So I line up my ruler along the bottom edge, and I kind of look at some of my strip pieces and try to make sure that they're all kind of going straight as I go along. I'm going to trim and get a nice straight edge on this. Then I'm going to flip it and start cutting strip sets at 4.5 inches. And in the end, we're going to need 7 4.5-inch strips. So here we go. 1. So you're going to be trimming these down to 4.5 by the width of your strip set. Isn't that pretty? Love it. These are so fun. The girls got these done in class, and we had, our class was from 1 to 4, and we got our projects, the tops of our projects done during the class time. So that was really fun. It's fun to go to class and get a project all the way done. They were very excited. All right. And you're going to keep trimming until you get 7 of these. You will be able to cut more than 7 out of your strip sets. Remember, once you sew your other strip set together, you'll be able to get more. And if you want your table runner to be longer, you can certainly add those other strip sets in there. You made them, you might as well use them. So out of the 25-incher, am I going off the board? Just about. I think I can eke out one more. I cannot eke out one more out of this one. So I got 5 out of my 25-inch strip set. So then I'll sew that other strip set together and get the final pieces that I need to do the project. You have all of your strip sets sewn together and cut into 4.5-inch subcut pieces. You should have at least 7 to do your project. Again, you probably got more of these little strip sets, so you can add more and make your table runner longer. So I'm just going to use the ones that we have, and I'm going to make it 7 and then add my 2 borders. So to do this, you're going to start out, here's how we had our original strip set with the 1.5-inch on this end, a 2.5-inch on that end. Now when you line these up to sew, you'll have a 1.5 on this end, but then your next strip, you're going to have a 1.5-inch strip on the opposite end and a 2.5-inch under your 1.5-inch bar. See how that's going to work? Now I'm going to add a 1.5-inch, and I'm going to continue. So 1.5-inch, flip your strip set, put a 2.5-inch, 1.5-inch, flip. What do you think, Mark? Does it look good? Do you like it? And a 2.5-inch here. And keep going all the way down You can sew those together. I pressed my seams open when I got those done. Could you get out of the middle of the picture, please? No? Okay. So all of your strip sets together, and then add underneath here, add your border across the top. So you can see how nice this one looks with the red border and then more blue in the center. So really cute. So you're going to sew all that together, and then when I quilted it, so sew those together, add those on both ends, you're ready to start to quilt. So let me pull this off. Super easy and fun. Isn't this cool? I love how you just flip them and it makes your design going down the center, and nothing has to match up as you're sewing. So you don't have to try to match up stripes or anything. So cool. Yes, I see you. Okay, we need to show people this. Alrighty. So when I quilted mine, I thought about the quilting, and I just stitched in the ditch all the way along here. But what color thread do you use? Because if I use a tan thread in here, if I go Cricut and I go into the blue, you're going to see that tan thread in the blue. And if I go Cricut over here, you're going to see the tan thread in the red. If I use red, it'll go into the tan, all that type of thing. So I pulled out my invisible thread, which I have right over here. Let me grab it. It's the ULI, I lied. Oh, here it is. It's the ULI thread. I always say ULI. It's YLI, and it works great. I put this in the top of my machine, and in the bottom, in the bobbin, I put either bottom line or I use a deco bob. Pre-wound bobbin. Works great. So I just stitched in the ditch all the way along here and across. And then I stitched here, and then a navy blue thread I used up here. If you have red, of course you do use red. I just put a stitching line across here, and then I just made some diagonal lines in my border. And that's all I did to quilt it. Then I added my binding, and I was ready to go. So it's a really fun, simple, fast project to do, and it's so cute. It is just so cute. And the girls were talking about how fun it would be to do it in some other fabrics like Christmas fabrics or fall fabric. And if you have a border print, you could always put a border print up here and then make your strip sets and add those on. So we may be doing that, and I may come back on and show you some other ideas later on. Right? Or watch Patchwork Party, because I'm always coming up with those ideas for Patchwork Party. So have fun with this. If you have any questions, problems, give us a call, stop in. You know where we're at. And join us next month. I think it's the 28th. The weekend of the 28th. We will be doing the little watermelon placemats. So join us for that, because it's going to be lots and lots of fun. And in the meantime, Marley, apparently she needs some attention. So I better give her some attention. Okay. Have fun with this. See you next time. Bye for now. You are a pain in the neck. You are my little pain in the neck.